Hi, my name is Mike, but many of you know me as Rainbow Sprinkles. Because I focus on so many things at once, I find it hard to share with family and friends what I'm capable of. So I'm making this video for mostly personal reasons, but if you can improve yourself from this, that is great. In this video, I like to speak about four main things here. I will provide a background and all relevant information. I will leave timestamps for each section in case you want to jump around. This section is pretty full, so I will paint a full picture with my history for you guys. I've been gaming since I was a little kid. My first video game ever was Galaga on the NES. Donkey Kong Country DKC is a great game and the one I work on the most. But can you believe that it is not my favorite? My favorite game is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. I created my Twitch account in 2013. In 2014, I started playing Paper Mario, beating it with an altered controller. After conquering Paper Mario, on a whim I started playing DKC. There was no underlying reason, just random. I got addicted to it. I even tried speedrunning, but I wasn't very good. Ultimately, I beat the game in just over an hour. A few days after getting back from AGDQ 2016, a speedrunning convention, I found the Super Jump Roll, or Ascii. The Ascii is a frame-perfect speedrunning trick that helps the others save minutes in the speedrun. This is huge, effectively skipping some tough stages. TAS stands for Tool Assisted Speedrun, where I bolt onto a slide game with save states and other tools to get a generally perfect run. It's basically a run where everything goes right. This piqued my interest, so I made one based off of a hack, The Criminal's Revenge by Preposterify. In 2017, I released that task on my YouTube. It was in 2022 that I started to take my YouTube career seriously. I joined YouTube in 2012, but I uploaded seldomly and usually uploaded weird niche things to share with my friends. In late 2022, I learned that I enjoy making videos of myself playing various TKCX using task tools. This is called the Law Optimization Tool Assisted Demonstration, or LOTAD. I use this strategy to take videos of otherwise extremely hard games. Hacking is altering an existing system to behave in a different way. In a computer game, editing or supplementing game code. When it comes to hacking or modding, there are two categories here: playing and creating. I have played a few hack over the years. I made full playthrough videos of many different DKC hacks on my YouTube channel. I've tried all the DKC 1 hacks I could get my hands on. I also played and made my own randomizer for Pokemon Stadium 2. I like to use the universal Pokemon randomizer as well. I have been extremely prolific in this field. I have worked on and released many hacks. Here are just a handful of hacks I've created over the years. Donkey Kong Distortion Country (DKDC) was one of the first hacks I released. It got mild popularity on YouTube. That is my only full hack. Dixie Kong Country is a hack in which Donkey Kong was replaced by Dixie. Every other one is gimmick of some sort, from button restrictions to turning the game into a pacifist style game, where you are punished for harming enemies. A few of my hacks were dedicated to friends, such as Worm at Braham or Leopard Lights. These were made at a request from some of my Twitch friends. I worked with a few different people on their hacks as well, providing support where possible. Mania, Ascension, and Veiled. This section will be quite lengthy because I've lived a lot of years. In 2016, I started going to college for software engineering. Little did I know, this was the wrong major. This wasn't programming at all. However, I stuck with it and got my degree in 2021 while recording independently. I am by no means an expert, but I've created many tools over the years. All of the following programs were made in the past 4 years, as of this writing. A link to this page is in the description. In college, I started to learn JavaScript or JS. Around this time, I found the site Code Signal, or at the time it was called Code Fights. I used the site and the community there to practice and learn about JS. In 2017, I switched to C# because C# easily had better I/O capabilities. It was able to interact with the file system easily, something I knew JS could do but didn't know myself at the time. Also, Visual Studio has a great environment as opposed to a simple text editor. I also had one of my close friends tutoring me. This same guy knew much about DKC and just Ascii as in general, so he would always and still does help me. So one of the things I usually try to do is to solve a problem I had in daily life. One issue that I face is that I tend to look at the keyboard when I type. Oftentimes I would get to the end of a sentence and realize the caps lock was on. This severely slowed down communication skills, especially when I had to retype a sentence again. As a solution, I coded a case changer. This toggles the case of every character of the last string I copied and set it to the copy clipboard. This is handy. They worked out a way to set up a global hotkey so I can use it in any program. Parallel to C#, I also learned the 65816 with a good friend as a mentor. The 65816 is just the assembly or ISM language used by the Ascii to create games, since games are nothing more than programs. The ASM is generally considered the hardest type of programming there is. In the following years, I released a lot of program style mods, usually more than one a year. In 2021, I graduated from school with a software engineering degree. In one of my final classes, we had to make a portfolio. I stuffed mine with all my projects. I'll leave a link to this in the description. Since then, I've been coding as a hobby. I started working on an all-encompassing lava editor with a solid UI user interface. I started it because there were limited options for editing DKC, and the ones we had weren't still supported by the creators. So if I had a problem losing one, as I did, I was on my own. If I made one myself, it would cover anything I wanted, and I have time to work on it so I could address user issues. Late 2022, I finally released my editor, and now known as the Rainbow Z editor. I incorporated many quality of life features into this, such as quick launch. I used it now researching DKC code. To wrap this section up, I've done a lot with programming. There are so many programs I've developed that I'm not share with you guys in this video. Phew, that was a lot, but we have reached the end of the rainbow, no pun intended, yet. Next up is music. And this section also has crossovers with hacking and programming. I started music at a very young age. In 2004 or so, I heavily used Guitar Pro. I haven't used Guitar Pro to compose some of my own music. I've done nothing with any of them, but you can find some on my YouTube. Music was very important to me growing up. I used to perform various instruments on stage and in private. Music editing DKC's intro is so difficult. Rare, the company behind DKC, created their own music engine, unlike what the Ascii already uses. There was some documentation on the format, but no program, so I made my own. Using my program, I was able to recreate many iconic songs, such some iconic songs from SM64. Using Guitar Pro, I created my own remake of He's a Pirate from Pirates of the Caribbean. You can hear that in the background of this video. Recently I've been on a music kick. There's a whole playlist of songs that we made from past games like Pokemon, Zelda, and more. I will link the playlist in the description of this video. I just wrote optimizer for my music program that takes an existing track and optimizes it for you, but that is a topic for another time. And that is a look at the 4 years of my life. These are not the only aspects of my life. This doesn't even mention my injury or recovery, or how I've only been able to effectively use one hand. I'm not the worst off, but with hard work and dedication, I believe anything is possible. Hopefully this sheds some light on me and the fact that I am very active. Thank you all so much for watching. Feel free to leave any questions regarding this in the comment section.